What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about some Dragon Age, the Veilguard gameplay. We got 10 minutes, exactly as promised, right? High-level gameplay, and we got to look at quite a few different things, right? So I'm going to kind of go over my overall impressions. I'll be playing it, obviously over me talking here, so you guys take a look, or, there's people that live streamed the thing where they kind of broke it down in the moment. There's people that just uploaded kind of the raw gameplay where you could hear the sounds. I think the music sounds good. I think, like, the impact sounds good, so you're not going to hear any sounds from the gameplay. You'll only hear me, but I think on the audio side of things, it was pretty darn good. I want to kind of start, we'll kind of go a little chronologically, at least in the beginning here. The UI is something I want to talk about, and when I say that, I guess I'm talking about, well, you have the bottom when you're actually fighting. You have the kind of skill, I'd say circle, or whatever you want to call it, right, where you're going to be, assigning your characters or your companions to do different things. But I also want to talk about, just in the very beginning of it, right, when you're picking who to take with you, I actually think that looks super. I like the, I don't know if they're like a tarot card-like design, but I really, really like just the overall look of that. And then the menus themselves, I guess what's on screen as you're actually playing. I feel like there's just I don't know how to like actually place it, but I feel there's just a little too much going on at the bottom of the screen. Maybe it's some of those like buffs or kind of like increases that you see in the bottom left side of things. I feel like that's like the one extra thing that you maybe don't need to have in there. But besides that, I think it looks clean, it looks crisp, and even the character wheel. Now, when watching it just raw, I actually, you have to read it, right? Like you're reading what they're saying to you as they're sometimes picking what your companions are doing. And I was a little confused of like, well, how do you actually, like pick which side? But it does look relatively clean. Like you have, left and right side, top and bottom. I think all of that stuff looks pretty okay. And then, of course, you have the combat itself. So here's what I'm going to say, right? Let's get into the controversial stuff because I feel like it's still split. I feel like there's a little bit more positivity on it than negativity. I will say I kind of like it. Is it Dragon Age Origins, right? No, it is not. It has continued, obviously, to deviate, which we knew. It's not a surprise. This isn't the first time that we are figuring all this stuff out, right? But it does seem pretty fluid. And I think if one thing kind of came through, and let me see if I'm able to like actually convey this. So I just recently replayed Dragon Age Origins, okay? So it's still kind of like fresh on my mind. One thing that I kind of think they captured here was the kind of tactical experience. And I feel like that's important to people. It's important to me. And I feel like from what we saw in this 10 minutes, that is kind of there. I was trying to pay specific attention to what are the companions doing, right? Like in the very beginning, you notice that a couple of the Darkspawn are focused directly on you, and I was thinking, well, where are, as the camera doesn't always show it, where are the companions? The companions do seem to be pretty darn smart. They seem to separate. They're doing their own skills. You see that several times when they open up the menu, and you're trying to work on some combination stuff, whether it's freezing them or, whatever it might be, and you can see on the left or right side, you could see your companions are actually kind of doing things on their own, right? So that was a big thing to me because even that early gameplay, they were all focused on you. It seemed like your companions were doing next to nothing, and I still feel like the companions are going to be like overall weaker, much weaker than you as the main character. But I will say, again, like a thing that I think was conveyed in this 10 minutes is the quickness and the, I don't even know if it's an actual word, but just how, or the tacticalness, but we'll just say how tactical, right? How tactical the game seems to be. I mean, I don't know if it annoys some people, but it actually didn't annoy me because I was thinking, okay, I think they're showing off the tactics, right? They're opening up their menus consistently, and you're getting overwhelmed in this thing, in this segment, I should say, right? You're getting overwhelmed consistently, right? So you're really trying to plan it. As I've said for a while, like as long as the AI can kind of hang and you don't feel the absolute, as long as you don't feel like you ever need to control them, right? Like jump into their body, which you can't do, right? So you just have to hope that the AI is smart enough, and then you use their skills. You're combining them with your own skills for like buffs and debuffs and all that jazz. And, they were doing some of that in the gameplay, right? They were kind of building up to it where it's basic combat and then kind of linking things together using your ultimate move. I did see that was one thing people were pretty not great on, just, in the comments, is it seems like there's kind of 4 abilities that you can use versus, I mean, they've really gone downhill with how many of them in all, since Dragon Age Origins even. So that, that's not ideal. I think that's a little bit of something you had to concede with console. I mean, I guess you didn't have to concede back with like Dragon Age 1 or 2, but you definitely did with like the frame rate of Dragon Age 1 or 2. So, for me, it's going to be a lot of actually getting my hands on it. From watching it as like a second party type thing, it did look fun. I got to be honest, it did look fun. It had enough of the tactical like nature to it that kind of grabbed me. And now granted, like, this is later in the game, right? But, I mean, there was plenty of stuff in the beginning with, like, they were going for a specific build. And I will say that is another thing that kind of makes Dragon Age very special to people, right? Like, for all the stuff that they were doing in the actual gameplay, like when they were fighting Darkspawn, right? That wasn't even just one, like, character class, but that was also a character class picking a specific, like, path to go down, right? In the beginning, you see just how insane that skill tree looks, by the way. It's absolutely insane. But they chose a more defensive path, right? You didn't have to choose that defensive path. You could have gone down other ones. So not only was it just one class, but it was also one path that you went with the class. And I do think that is, obviously, that is very entwined with the DNA of Dragon Age. I'm going to be a mage, so even what we saw just in here, like, I guess I can imagine. Actually, I will say, in terms of the comments, like, that is actually one thing people were complaining about, back to the amount of skills, right? Is when you're a mage and you're playing like some of the earlier games, you can just, you have to have enough, ability to do it, but you could spam like 6 different, actually more than 6, and completely wipe the floor. But no, overall, I got to be honest, I actually did like it. I really think it's going to just come down, as I keep saying, right? I need the game in my hands. I need to experience the whole thing. If it comes together, it comes together, and I think it can be really, really good. Maybe it doesn't, but I certainly liked what we saw today. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.